Hello, everyone. Welcome back to a new podcast here at Nick at Night. I'm your host, Colin, along with
Jenna Hadley.
Dan Jacobson.
And I am Paul Hepp.
And today we have some of our tenured teachers here at Nicolet High School. So, what kind of got you into teaching?
I guess I'm taking this one first, huh?
You go
Yeah,
first.
It's one of those things. Back when I was in high school as a sophomore, we had a career unit, like a lot of schools do. And originally, I wanted to be a sports journalist.
Okay.
Very involved in sports itself, and then wanted to write. And at some point, my senior year, I was like, you know what? That's not going to be my career path. And I had an older brother that was a teacher and a coach, and I know I wanted to help young people, and I wanted to coach, and I knew teaching was a good path for that. So decided in my senior year I wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and basically stuck with it all the way through.
Wow,
And here we are.
That's pretty cool. About you, Mr. Jacobson?
I have the opposite.
Opposite. Okay.
When I left high school, I had no desire to be a teacher. It was the last thing that I thought I would do. I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
All right.
So I went out to the University of Arizona to be an entrepreneur or be in the program. And after about a year, about 3 semesters, I said, I still want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want that degree, though. Went into different business programs and then radio, television, broadcasting. I didn't want to write. I wanted to broadcast baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And left that and then got a job as a tutor at a high school across the street from campus. Enjoyed it. People said I was good at it. So I switched majors into education and enjoyed it.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. So, you guys have been here for a while now. Is there any great memory you've had in the past quite a few years you've been here? Is favorite year you've had?
I'll take this one.
Yeah, you go first.
So I've been here for 33.
Okay.
The first 4, I think it's the first 4, I was a substitute teacher. Either 3 or 4. And then the last 1 or 2, or the next 1 or 2, I was an aide, paraprofessional in the special ed department. And then the year Paul came in, Mr. Hepp came in, there were 2 job openings. So we both got that. So classroom 27?
It's 28 now.
28. So 28 in the classroom, and then 4 or 5 before that. So that's my 33 years. Favorite years? There's both of my kids went here, so it's kind of
wow.
fun when
Yeah.
I enjoyed having my daughter in class,
Okay.
and I coached her in volleyball. My son did not want to take any of my classes, and he was in fear.
Okay.
And honestly, from coaching, there were years like successful in volleyball. I was also an assistant basketball coach on girls, and 3 years we went to state. That was, but it's more of the people that I've met.
All right.
Those are, the colleagues, the people I've worked with, the students that I've had. That's the stronger memories than like an entire school year.
Well, that's great to hear. So when you applied, was it just Nicolet that you applied to? Is there other school districts that you
When I
liked?
got here, when I left Arizona and came back, I applied at multiple schools. I came back, I grew up here,
Okay.
went to Whitefish Bay, and was an MPS before that. I knew I wanted to teach at Nicolet. That was the main reason I came back.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't hiring, so I applied at Bay, Homestead, Shorewood, Grafton, and there just weren't that many job openings. So I started working and coaching at Nicolet, and so there were other places, but nobody was hiring.
All right.
So I'm here.
Oh, it's great to have you here. What about you, Mr. Hepp?
To go back to your original question regarding memories, I mean, it's hard. I mean, 28 years to narrow down to, like he said, 1 year, a couple years. Even, a top 10 memory list is tough to do. And it's those relationships, the colleagues, the people in your department, the people on the staff, students. And I think some of my best memories are actually the memories that are, if this makes sense, actually made after students have departed here. Mm-hmm. And then they either come back to see you here, or maybe you run into them in the community, and then you can kind of see where they are in life and the successes that they've had, and you know that maybe you helped maybe play a small role in that, and Nicolet obviously played a fairly significant role. So those are the kind of things that you really kind of think about and stand out.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. So you both have been coaches here at Nicolet currently, and is there a sports team, like what got you into wanting to be a coach?
Again, so I go back to my youth. I mean, I'm the youngest of 5 in my family, 4 boys. All of us played 3 sports: basketball, baseball, football. Growing up from, being little kids all the way through high school. Played college basketball for a while, and so it was just in my blood that I wanted to coach. And again, I kind of looked at one of my older brothers that was a football coach, and when I got into college, so kind of a silver lining, I had the misfortune of actually tearing up my knee a couple years in a row, and it prematurely ended my playing career. But what it did is it kind of pushed a little fast forward on my coaching career, and I had the opportunity to actually then coach even while I was still in college with our men's college team. And then that really kind of gave me a lot of experience and kind of the want to be a coach. And, when I got a teaching job right away, my first teaching job wasn't here, but I wanted to coach, and I was football and basketball as an assistant. And then shortly thereafter, I was able to get a head coaching job on the other side of the state, was there for 2 years, and I've been here for 28 years. And I did the coaching thing for 21. And I give this guy a lot of credit for being 30 plus now. I mean, the time, the sacrifice that you have to give, but it's definitely worth it.
What about you?
So I started coaching when I was 19. I was coaching a club team, a club volleyball team during the summer. And then when I went back to Arizona, I had played for the University of Arizona. I played volleyball for 2 years and then was done. And some friends had formed a club team and said, "Hey, would you want to coach?" Sure. So we did that. And then when I got here, I was hired to be, I applied for the boys JV volleyball position. And a good friend of mine was the head coach. And another very good friend of mine was also up for the same job. He got the job, I didn't. And then an athletic director, Mr. Wolf, called me and said, "Well, sorry you didn't get the job, but would you want to coach freshman girls volleyball?" I've never coached girls. I have no idea. Sure. And he said, "Do you want to coach girls basketball? The head coach is in the next room. Why don't you go talk to him?" So in a matter of 45 minutes, I became a coach of 2 sports.
Wow.
And there have been ups and downs. As a basketball coach, not nearly as successful as Coach Hepp. I think I was talking about this the very first year I coached girls basketball was a JV team, and we won 10 games. In the next, I think I coached for 17 years, 15, 17, somewhere in there. In the next, let's say 15, 16 seasons, I think I won a total of 50.
Wow.
So I think
Wow.
18 years and 60 wins. So we weren't terribly successful. The varsity was very successful. Volleyball, I took over a program that wasn't very successful and helped build that. I was also, before that, I was a head coach at Whitefish Bay High School.
Okay.
And for the coaching part, like Paul was saying, is that, the relationships that you build. I've gone to weddings, that my players were in. I'm coaching second generation. I'm coaching daughters of, I coach their moms now. And one thing, in 2001, one of our players passed away. That's why we have the Brittany Giggle Foundation and Fund, and we do the 3-on-3 basketball tournament in her memory. And it's one of the things I'm really proud of. It's become Nicolet's largest scholarship.
That's wonderful.
So
to hear.
we've brought in about $375,000.
Wow.
And we've given out probably over $200,000 in the last
Wow.
22 years in scholarship money.
That's
So
wonderful.
It's pretty cool.
Wow.
So if I could jump in real
Yeah.
quick. So we've never actually coached together, but there was one time we came this close. There was a job opening for, it was freshman girls softball. And we're like, well, how about we co-coach? you know? And we talked about it. We thought that'd be a good idea. And we actually had the interview set up, and we were literally walking to the room where the interview was going to happen. And about halfway there, I'm like, I don't think I want to co-coach. I think I'm good. And I turned
Literally.
left. I turned left. He kept on walking.
We
and
were one step away from the room where the interview was going to be held.
It's just like,
I took one step into the room, and he took one step to the left.
he zigged, I zigged, and
I forgot I coached softball for a year. I coached softball for a year also.
wow. So, going
I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
So going back to applying to Nicolet, was there a job position that you wanted?
Yeah, I mean,
His is different because he was recruited to be here.
well, and I knew people that would definitely help too. So, kind of to make a long story short, is that I was pretty young. I was about 25 years old, and I was teaching and coaching over by Platteville in a very small school, and I was doing basketball camps at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. And one of the other coaches there was a Nicolet grad, Brian Hecker, and his mother, Fern, was a long-time employee here, district assistant to the superintendent. And so I got to know him very well, and the job for the basketball coach came open. And he told me at the time, so this is in the early summer of 1995. And he's like, hey, throw your name in there. And at that time, I mean, I grew up in a small town outside of Madison. I loved Madison area. And that was kind of my game plan in life, was just to kind of be around Madison. And I really didn't know anything about Milwaukee. I mean, the only time I ever came to the Milwaukee area growing up was basically to go to a Birds game or a Bucks game. That was about it. So I really had no desire to move to this area. But then the more I talked to my friend Brian, more homework I did and kind of investigated, I'm like, you know what? And even though I didn't live in Milwaukee, I knew the academic reputation of Nicolet. I mean, that's known throughout the state. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a chance. And I threw my name in. And, obviously I got recommendations from Brian and his mom that helped. And then one of my high school teachers, a guy named Gary Stressman, I had him for science one year way back when I was at Randolph High School in my small town. And he was working here as a science teacher and had been here for a number of years. And I called him up, and that's why I always tell the students, I mean, you never know who you're going to run across, whose paths you're going to cross again in life. And you always want to leave good, impressions. You don't want to burn bridges. And I called him up. I said, Mr. Stressman, you remember me? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to apply for a job. You think you can maybe, get me put my name in to help me get an interview? Because, I mean, that's part of it. You got to be able to get the interview in order to get the job. And he was willing to do that. And between having kind of those connections, it got my foot in the door a little bit. And luckily, I was able to get the job.
That's great. So for somebody that is interested in teaching, going into teaching, what are some quality traits that an employer might look for?
Well, and what we talk about, Colin, in class a little bit with hard skills versus soft skills. Obviously you need certain hard skills to teach, but it's the soft skills, the people skills, the communication skills, basically kind of the flexibility that we need to have here. And, I always tell people that aren't in education, you think about it, we're in a profession, is there anything else like it on the planet where we meet multiple times a week with the same group of people, and you may have 20, 25, 30 people that you see on a regular basis. And, the thing is, some kids aren't having a good day, and you got to be okay with that. And we always got to kind of have that face on that we're having a good day no matter what. And so, I mean, it's a combination of things. I mean, there's not any one thing to get back to your question, but I mean, you got to have a whole toolbox of a lot of skills, but a lot of them are those soft skills that we talk about.
Okay, that's great.
I think being patient and knowing, like Paul just said, that no matter what kind of day we're having, no matter what's going on at home, no matter with your kids or with your as parents' age, or anything that's happening in our private lives, that has to get
put away.
Put away.
Right.
And you have to present.
Got to focus on the job, right?
Yeah. And you have to manage 25 to 30 different personalities.
Right.
Also knowing that it might be 90 personalities, because we know in 45 minutes, either one of you might have 3 different personalities coming out. You may be happy, sad, and then tired,
Right.
okay, or in whatever order,
Right.
or all of a sudden drama happens. And we have to manage people. We have to teach a subject and the curriculum,
Right.
and we have to make it so that it is interesting in some way, shape, or form. If someone said what, the most important skill, I would said you can't have one. It's just not one skill.
Right.
You have to be willing to live your life by a bell and have that kind of structure. We've got friends who aren't teachers, and they can go and take an hour and a half for a lunch, and we're going to have to be done eating in 20 minutes.
Right.
They can use the restroom whenever they want.
Right.
I mean, it's all of that. And I was talking to a college student who was observing my class yesterday. And the best advice I could give him was, if you are not 100% sure that you want to do this, don't. It's too difficult. If you're doing it right, you are invested in your school. You're invested into your kids. If you can't do that, go do something else.
Wow. Wow. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And so, with Nicolet changing, with renovations coming up, is there anything that you're looking forward to? Is any classrooms changing? Are you moving to a different area?
We've got a jacuzzi being built in the social studies office.
We've been working on that for 25 years.
Yeah.
Take the breaks during lunch?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're just going to get paint and closets, maybe.
A little cosmetic work in social studies.
So we're not really even being displaced for very long. Neither one of us is going to be here for much longer. Like
Okay.
I'm 90% sure that I'll retire after next year,
Okay.
and then he'll probably go in
Yeah.
2 after that.
2 to 3, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll still continue to coach here, so I'll see some of it, but it'll be, I think next year for all of us, like it is going to be really difficult. Just coming back from spring break,
Right.
when
Yeah.
the ceiling tiles are down, there's fake walls built to, it's going to be
A mess.
a mess.
Right.
And there'll be dust everywhere. That's going to be noisy. People are going to be, really confined to some small spaces while we're moving, in between classes. People will be late. It's going to be, everybody's going to have to really just work together to make this work.
All right. So, Jenna, is there anything you'd like to add?
No. I mean, well, it's just really interesting. Like, you guys have been here for so long, and like,
Forever.
yeah, I think that's really interesting that you like haven't like, not in a bad way, but like gotten bored of Nicolet. Like, it's cool that you guys are so connected to the school and like it so much that you decided to stick with us.
Yeah, and and we've been really close friends for over 25 years.
Yeah.
And we've traveled to Washington D.C. together. We've taken kids there. I think wherever you go to work, I think it's got to be the job, but it also has to be the people you work with.
Yeah, for sure.
I have friends that hate their job. They make great money. I've got a friend who's in sales. He makes over $500,000 a year. And 5 days a week he's miserable. 2 days a week he's happy because he's got a boat and jet skis.
Right.
But if it's raining out and he can't use his boat or his jet skis, what are you going to do?
Right.
But for 50 to 60 hours a week, he's miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that.
That has to be rough.
For us,
Yeah.
I would say, that there are very few days that we're not happy to be here. There might be moments, and I've always said, I don't know about Paul, but I've always said, rarely have I ever said I'm going to work. I said I'm going to school. And that's the only thing, because you went into it right after college, right? So I've been, I'm older than him, but I've been in school for 52 consecutive years.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Because I started when I was 4.
Yeah.
And I've been in school, you know, all through high school, all through college right here, for I'm 56, so 52 years.
Wow.
Wow. 30 years is a long time. And so how do you, with all these, like you saying that you might retire here pretty soon, is it very nostalgic for you, all these 30 years? I mean, it's a very long time. I can't,
Yeah.
haven't been
It-
alive for 30 years.
Yeah, right. How old are you?
18.
18, okay. So I don't know. Sometimes you think that like the days can be long, but the years are short.
Right.
It can just in a snap. It goes. I mean, how long is your does it seem like you guys have been here for 4 years?
I've been here for 2.
Okay.
I'm-
You're a sophomore.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
I'm a
really
senior. Yeah.
So 4 years. I mean, has it gone quickly?
Very fast.
Yeah. But there have been days that feel like, my God, this is never going to end.
Right.
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 But the years themselves just fly by.
Yeah.
I am a little nostalgic for it. There are, people from our department that we talk about and nobody else has ever heard of them. Things that have happened here that nobody else really knows about. But yeah, it's when you start looking back at it, it's a little surreal. Like, okay,
Right.
this is what I chose to do. There are very few people these days who stick for one job
Right.
for 33 years
It's
or for 30 years.
So you both were here for the flood in 2010. So
The Great Nicolet flood.
so tell me about that, because I believe school started later.
Yeah, I remember the day. I mean, it was July 22nd. Had the big flood, and I mean, if you guys don't know the details, I mean, literally the horseshoe area up front, there was water all the way up 4 feet high in the front door. Basically, anywhere there was on the bottom 2 levels. So the upper half wing didn't get touched, obviously, but everything else had water damage. And we were forbidden to come into campus all the way until 2 days before school started. And you're right, school got pushed back 2.5 weeks, and we kind of used Cardinal Stritch as a kind of a base camp for all things at that particular point. The administration was set up there, the business office. If any other kind of work had to be done, it had to be done out of there. And so when we came in 2 days before school started, everything was boxed up. If they didn't throw it away, everything, I mean, and when we say everything, every single thing was in a box.
Wow.
That would have been a great time to retire, actually. They had it all packed for us, right?
Wow.
But so that was weird. So you came into your classroom, you came into your office, everything is boxed up, so you had to go through everything.
Right.
All right, is this something I want to keep? Is this something I'm going to pitch? I didn't do a very good job of the pitching part, if you see my
He's still
classroom.
living out of box.
Yeah. So, but the idea is then, I mean, it was just a surreal kind of beginning of the year. It was kind of odd just not having school while all the other schools were going to school. And then it was tough, though, for like the kids in athletics because volleyball is still going on.
I was coaching. I had to go coach at university school.
Football is still going on. All these practices are still happening. So that was a little bit more of a challenge on that end.
Wow. Well, we are going to wrap up our podcast today. So thank you for,
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
being
Behind
here.
you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
thank you.
Thanks.